Hey gang, as you can see, I'm still not where I'm supposed to be, and I thought I'd film outside today, despite the fact that there's very clearly a busy street going on behind me. So if you can hear that noise, no you can't. So while in the middle of writing another much more heavy video, which will be out probably next week, maybe the week after, I've spent the last 2 weeks watching companies torpedo themselves into the ground, just kamikaze their way into the floor, and it's very funny. So I wanted to talk about it, but also talk about how it probably represents the decline of human society as a whole. This was the thing that I first noticed because I was attempting to research for the video that I'm currently writing. Google, and everybody, but it's especially Google, is forcing AI down our throats. Yay! Now, of course, I'd seen all of the memes about the AI summarization feature not really working well, but it hadn't reached my computer yet, and it happened to reach my computer the day that I was doing research about domestic violence. Tell you what I don't need: an AI summary of domestic violence. That's what I really, really don't need. I also don't need, when I'm researching an injury I got to my toe, to be told all of the myriad of diseases that it absolutely isn't. When I Googled something very specific about an injury, I wasn't Googling various diseases my toe could catch. I was Googling very specifically how to treat this injury. And Google summary said, the AI said, no, you want to know all of the really terrifying ways that your toe could be so much worse. No, I didn't, actually. Just a minor addition to this. As I was searching on Google to see if there was any possible way for me to turn off the AI summarization feature, because I just don't want it, I went through my settings. If you go into your settings, there is a thing on that is automatically toggled on called search personalization. Choose whether search can show you personalized experiences based on data saved in your Google account. You get personalized versions of things like Discover Stories, movie recommendations, and autocomplete suggestions. Pardon? Then nothing about this feels correct. Like, it doesn't feel like they're doing it because, oh, well, you know, we know that she's doing research on stuff. This is just going to funnel bias into everything. If you're already right-wing biased, it's going to funnel you further down the right-wing pipeline and towards QAnon. If you're already left-wing biased, it's going to radicalize you even further left-wing, probably, or probably not, because those algorithms tend to skew right anyway. Search personalization is exactly what is getting us to the place that I'm going to get to later on in this video that I talk about, where people are willingly sharing memes of Haitians eating pets, right? Killing pets. And where the fuck have we come to as a society? The fact that I didn't know this was a thing, because Google will occasionally do that when, you know, I look up a movie and it goes, this is ones we think you'll like. I'm fine with that. Discover Stories, autocomplete suggestions, I don't need personalization for that. That's the kind of shit that I very much the opposite of need personalization for. I need objectivity for things like that. I need what the majority of people are looking for things like that. Like autocomplete used to be. Like the news and stories used to be. It's like 4 a.m. while I'm editing this and I'm fucking spiraling, dude. YouTube is spending so much time copyright striking YouTubers, censoring the language I'm about to use so that the video that I'm making next week about domestic violence and how to escape from it and how to spot it is probably going to be censored into oblivion. Yet they're launching a new, again, AI summarization tool for like live chats and comments that is so inaccurate it borders on laughable. And when I say borders on, I mean it is laughable. The thing that makes it border is the fact that it's also depressing as fuck. Like, I want this to be my job, but I want to be able to do my job without having myself handcuffed for like respectability politics, because we should be able to talk about the bad things that are happening using the language that is designed for that. I'm so tired of saying and hearing unalived. They're not unalived. They're dead. They've been murdered. They've committed suicide. I'm probably going to have to bleep all 3 of those words if I want this video to be monetized. On a broader scale, especially with like my upcoming video, I don't need that to be monetized necessarily. It would be nice because, you know, I need money to live and this is my job. That video isn't for me. The problem is, if that video does get demonetized, its reach also gets kneecapped. So not only would I not be gaining money from it, the thing that is my job, but also it wouldn't be helping the people that I wrote it to help. So it's incredibly frustrating when there seems to be this constant double standard where like queer YouTubers of color, people who want to talk about big issues are getting consistently demonetized and censored. Jessie Gender last week got censored seemingly just for kissing her girlfriend in a video. She existed while being trans, and YouTube said no. But like They're allowed to have an AI that summarizes chat so badly that it summarizes things that A, aren't happening, and B, are incredibly horrible. And on top of that, as D'Angelo was pointed out in one of his more recent videos, there's a huge problem with bots. That's a problem that's been around for a while, and it's getting worse.
Google is out here adding AI to the comment section, comment topics, which is a new feature that uses artificial intelligence to organize and summarize comments on videos. So admittedly, you are innovating new ways of analyzing the content of every single comment on a video. And you're implementing this in ways that literally nobody asked for. But then you have people in my comments and all over the web actually asking for this to end. And all you've done is allow it to get worse for a decade. Things which advertisers don't leave over, YouTube is totally fine allowing them to spread. But the things which advertisers do get bent out of shape about, like the content within a video, now all of a sudden YouTube cares so much and they're going to monitor everything and invent all these complex systems to deliberately check the content of every single minute of every single video uploaded to the platform. And that is an insane undertaking, the fact that they're able to do that for the most part. And if you can do that for brands, because you need to keep the money, I know you can do this for the comments. I can certainly moderate my own comment section, but I shouldn't have to scroll through people spreading the nastiest stuff I've ever seen just to do so.
How about we stop funneling money into using AI, the thing that is currently regressing all the progress we've made on climate change, and, I don't know, tackle the bot problem? As D'Angelo pointed out, there are comments under videos now that are just spam bots linking to CP. Unfucking acceptable. But I'm not allowed to say the word murder? Interesting. They also made a video child-friendly against the creator's will. If a creator tells you their video is not for children, do not make it for children. Don't. They told you that it wasn't. You don't get to censor us and berate us for not having child-friendly content. And then when we explicitly tell you that it's not child-friendly, you go, no, we're going to give it to you anyway. I don't care what we're talking about in the video. I don't care how neutral the topic is. If we say we don't want our content directed at children, do not put us on the children's YouTube page. And then get angry at us later when a new video that we post isn't child-friendly and we somehow end up in their recommended feed. You're the one that put us there. Unacceptable. I swear, like a motherfucking trooper, I don't want my content in front of children. That's not who this content is for. Teenagers, perhaps, because they can handle swear words and topics that are difficult, but do not put my content in front of children. Especially not when I've explicitly... The fact that she explicitly was like, this is not for a child, multiple times, and YouTube was still like, nah, fucking ridiculous. Okay.
Gizmo. He's been causing havoc in the household.
As a personal affront to me and anybody who knows my content, Tumblr released a statement recently, essentially announcing that they're going to attempt to change the entire system and site that the thing runs on to the WordPress system. I don't know if I can express how stupid that is in words. It's so crazy because like when WordPress first took over Tumblr, I was positive. They were like making positive changes for the first time ever. They really were doing good things with the site for the first time in so long and like seemed to understand where we were coming from. And now it seems like it's just... They just want to run us into the ground and discard us. And it's frustrating because it's the only social media site that I use where I don't feel like I'm projecting a version of myself. I am 100% me on my Tumblr in all of my cringy, annoying glory. And they keep trying to take it away, and I just don't know why. You have a site, perfect site. Stop messing with it. Stop messing with it. You're shooting yourselves directly in the dick. Stop messing with it. It's fucking aggravating. And on top of that, it's stupid. All it's going to do is minimize the user base and make it so that the site is small enough that when you do eventually delete it and erase off the entire internet, nobody notices or cares. But I'm noticing and I'm caring. And I know that people will say, oh, it's expensive to run a site. It's expensive to do all this. Yeah, I know. But in that case, I need somebody to just bankroll it and stop fucking messing with it. Bankroll a small studio of people to take care of the site's continual running, to make sure it doesn't go down, to make sure that things don't erase, and leave it the fuck alone. Hands off. Honestly, at this point, Sam Reich, drop out. Consider investing in Tumblr, please.
You shared the videos, spread the word, made some really compelling fan cams. And you saved us.
A large portion of your user base is there. And also, I feel like you might be the only company that would seemingly understand how to fucking run it. Either that, or I'm going to need a billionaire like Taylor Swift to bankroll the whole thing because it would cost her 0.01% of her entire net wealth to do. She wouldn't lose anything. And a lot of her fans are on Tumblr as well. So why don't you put your money somewhere useful, Taylor, instead of hanging out with people who love Donald Trump?
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
Obviously, if we're talking about companies torpedoing themselves, can't go by without mentioning that Boeing, there's a plane going overhead as I say this, that Boeing is not only forgoing safety, but is also allegedly killing the whistleblowers to avoid doing their fucking job. God, I hope that's not a Boeing plane. I might die. I've got to fly... Wow, that's a loud plane. How long is this flying over for? I have to fly back to Perth in October. I've flown on a lot of planes in my life. I've been flying since I was 4 years old because we moved to Australia when I was 4. Been a lot of flights in my life, and I've never been so anxious to get on planes. Ever. Planes, statistically, are the safest form of travel, or at least they were. Boeing seems to think that because they have the monopoly on it, they don't have to worry about optics, safety, because they know that they're going to sell their planes anyway. Hey, if enough people die, your company's going to torpedo into the ground. So maybe consider, I don't know, not doing that. Considering not just the bad press that they've been getting, but like the genuine fear and anxiety around getting onto any plane now. Because I don't know which planes were reviewed by the Boeing Safety Board. I'm in Australia, so I'm hoping that at the very least, the Australian safety system is better than the US's and that there is some kind of extra additional overseeing that they do, but I'm not confident. And also, like, I have the privilege of being in Australia where they do take care of things a bit better. They do have stricter regulations. Like, people in America aren't so lucky.
Dinkelberg.
Ticketmaster, which actually isn't on my list, but it happened the other day. It was very funny. Has now fucked up so much that they are under investigation by the UK government. I saw someone make a joke that it's very funny that it's been happening for years, but now that it's affecting middle-aged men who want tickets to Oasis, it's a problem. They have been screwing with the entire industry for years, so I would really like for somebody to deal with that, because I liked it when I could afford to go to concerts, you know? Like, I miss doing that. Like, I'm not a presents person, I'm an experiences person, and so when I was younger, we used to go to concerts a lot. $20 ticket concerts that were like, you know, in the city I lived in, or like we traveled to Brisbane in order to see a slightly more expensive concert. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had enough to like save up for experiences. And now, I'm going to hold your hand as I say this, my ticket to Blackpink, standing ticket, was $180. Sorry, pounds. So that's like $300. I love Blackpink. They were very good. They weren't £180 standing ticket good. They just weren't. Especially considering that was the concert where I was stuck next to a couple who were vaping indoors the whole time.
Bogus. Heinous. Most non-triumphant.
NaNoWriMo, colossally fucked up, also with their statement about AI, which I will read to you now. NaNoWriMo does not explicitly support any specific approach to writing, nor does it explicitly condemn any approach, including the use of AI. NaNoWriMo's mission is to provide the structure, community, and encouragement to help people use their voices. Sorry, I can read this without laughing. I can do it. Use their voices. Sorry. Use their voices, achieve creative goals, and build new worlds, on and off the page. We fulfill our mission by supporting the humans doing the writing. It's the humans doing the right. Sorry, I can read this. Please see this related post that speaks to our overall position on non-discrimination with respect to approaches to creativity, writers' resources, and personal choice. We also want to be clear in our belief that the categorical condemnation of artificial intelligence has classist and ableist undertones, and that questions around the use of AI tie to questions around privilege. Oh dear. It's always rubbed me up the wrong way when people cried ableism at the idea of AI art being able to be used, like disabled artists don't already exist and haven't existed for millennia. It's very funny that people are like, well, I can't use, my hands, so like I need AI creation engines in order to draw. No, you don't. There are plenty of disabled artists who can't use their hands. There are disabled artists who are paraplegic and paint with their mouths. There are people who describe art to people who have artistic abilities and have them paint it for them, which would be a much better use of your time than saying it into an AI engine that, to this day, still can't quite get hands right. As this person on Twitter has pointed out, I'm disabled and some days I can barely move my hands to write. I've started using text-to-speech to do some stuff and then going back and editing the errors later when I'm not feeling too awful. I would rather shoot myself in the dick than use AI to write a fic. Art, there's some leeway for, and I think, there are a lot of AI tools that can be very helpful for artists in general, not just disabled artists. There are tools that utilize various forms of AI, not the language learning model bullshit, but that can be helpful. But those are tools to be used. They're not replacing the artist or the creativity involved. And the language learning models, I think, are the most offensive to me as a writer, but also just as a human being. People saying like, well, I couldn't write the book that I wanted to write, and now I can using AI language learning. Okay, I don't know how to tell you that you're not writing. That's not writing. You had an idea. We all have ideas. I have 15 ideas a day for different novels, movies, TV shows, poems. A very small fraction of the ideas I have ever turn into actual pieces of writing. That's what being a writer is. Really sorry to tell you this, but like most of being a writer is failing at writing. The thing that makes you a writer is that you keep attempting to write. Regardless of how many times you fail, throw away a project, forget about it, decide it's something terrible, try something new. Anybody who tells me that they need ChatGPT to write an essay or start their novel or even just come up with ideas to get through a gap in their novel, I think should be forced to go back to school, sit in an English class, actually learn what creative writing is, learn what creative thinking is, critical thinking, learn any of those things. Watch my Everyone is Stupid Now video, because you clearly don't understand what it means to be any kind of intelligent. And I say this as a fucking dumbass. It's hard to do anything, to cultivate any skill. You skipping the step where the skill comes in doesn't suddenly make you a creative person. In fact, it makes you the opposite. As many other people on Twitter and Tumblr and everywhere else that has responded to this story have pointed out, this is just highlighting the divide between creative people and people who want the results of being creative without having to exercise creativity. People mocking Untitled, Portrait of Ross in LA, which is that famous artwork where it starts off with £175 worth of candy, and then as people patronize the artwork, they take the candy with them until there is nothing left, in the same way that AIDS took Ross from Felix Gonzalez Torres. It's an incredibly meaningful piece of art, but it went viral in the last week. People mocking it, essentially saying, oh, I could have done that. And what frustrates me about that idea is that, like, okay, but you didn't. You know that art doesn't become lesser just because you're able to do it, right? In that case, you're sort of undermining your own abilities. I get the idea, oh, it's modern art, or it's frustrating, whatever. But, like, as this person points out, I could make it. Would you have? Would you have even thought of making it? Would you have bothered making it? Have you experienced the events that led the artist to make it? Does art only matter if it's a pretty picture? And I'll elaborate on that with, does art only matter if the person creating it is the only person who could have thought of or created it? I would argue most people would answer no to that question, right? Surely. Art doesn't become lesser just because you think you could do it. And also, 9 times out of 10, you're wrong. Especially the kind of people who point at something and go, I could do that. They're always wrong because they haven't tried. You can point at Rothkos and Pollocks and pop art and say that that's easy and you could have done that. Okay, then do it. Try selling it. Try telling people what your art means to you without just saying, oh, I did it because I could do it. This is the fundamental difference, I think, between creative people and people who want to reap the rewards of creative exercise, because creative people are compelled to create. I, for a while, was really obsessed with Lenny Bruce during the pandemic, specifically because of the way his character was being played on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And in particular, the line that he says in one of the episodes.
Do you love it?
Do I love what?
Comedy. Stand up. Do you love it?
Okay, let's put it like this. If there was anything else in the entire world that I could possibly do to earn a living, I would. Anything. If someone said to me, Leonard, you can either eat a guy's head or do 2 weeks at the Copa, I'd say pass the fucking salt. It's a terrible, terrible job. It should not exist. Like cancer and God.
Yeah. He loves it.
And then I read his, let's loosely call it an autobiography, and I became really obsessed with him as a person because I'd never seen anybody so succinctly sum up what it's like to be a creative. It's not just being able to create something. It's like a drive to create something, even if it turns out not the way you wanted or badly or saying the opposite of what you meant to say, because you're compelled to do it. You have to. You love it even when you hate it. You love it even when you're completely stuck, completely unable to do it. If I wasn't earning money from writing these YouTube videos, I'd still be making them. I was making them long before I started earning money from them. I haven't earned money writing any of the fanfics I've written. I've posted over 1 million words to Archive of Our Own. I'd posted even more than that back in high school on fanfic.net, which is now taken down. Don't look for it. I write posts on Tumblr all the time. I've written hundreds of video essays that aren't even close to finished yet. I've started a bunch of novels. I've started TV shows. I've started movies that might not ever get published and made into things, but I wrote them and they exist because I needed to. That's the difference between me and somebody who wants to use AI to create their art. I could use AI to create my stories, to draw for me, to write for me. But why would I do that? Why would I let it take the most fundamental part of what makes it mine? My voice, my feelings, my drive. It just makes no sense, man.
But I'm going to destabilize the good boy coin economy right now by making my own.
I'm saying this just because I'm currently in Brisbane, and I noticed this last week when I tried to get the bus into town. There's this really good system going on at the moment where there's like 50-cent public transport traveling, like across Brisbane, which I think is amazing. I think it's a really, really good thing. I'm in full support of it. I will say, on the buses that I went on, they were only using Go cards, which is a specific transport card. How do people not from Brisbane use the public transport? Because I tried to just tap on with my card, which is what you do in the UK. Like every single train station and bus has like you can pay with cash, or there's like a tap thing for a card. You just walk on, tap it, walk off, you know? And I tried to do that, and it has a little circle around it that's like only using Go cards. Fucking why? That's so stupid. Also, I'm not from here and I'm not going to live here. So like, I'm not getting a Go card just for that. And then when I tried to pay with a card, like on the machine, he was like, oh, we don't have any other way to accept that. I think they take cash. Luckily, the bus driver of the bus that I was on was very kind and was like, oh, well, don't even worry about it. Like, it's fine. Take a seat anyway. Because I was very clearly trying to pay. It looked like I wasn't trying to dodge the fare. But like, why are you making this harder? Is it so that later on you can say, oh, well, the initiative failed? It failed because you put the wrong technology in. But also I don't want it to fail. I want it to work because I think it's genuinely a really good system.
She just doesn't have the vernacular that she thinks she possesses. Somebody lied to her several times and told her that she was fly, hot, and sexy and beautiful. And she's nothing like that. She's nothing of the sort.
Concord, the video game, was released for 2 weeks to such middling numbers that they're not just pulling it, they're also refunding the people who bought it. Despite the fact that it was in development for 8 years. Like, that's fairly average development time for most video games, I feel, but like, holy shit, guys. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and it reeks of executive interference. Those developers who are making that game probably worked their asses off, and it's not their fault that the game turned out like a crock of shit, you know? Like, it's not their fault that people weren't buying in. But it does demonstrate that this system for creating games and movies and animated content probably shouldn't keep going the way it's going, because more and more things are going to end up like that, or like the movies that have been pulled without ever being released. Zaslav should be set on fire.
disgusting한 냄새가 나요. Disgusting shit.
Elon trying to ban the entire country of Brazil from his site because he didn't like being censored, which in this case means asked to remove 7 sources of misinformation from the site. And actually, it's even funnier than that, because I thought that was funny enough. It turns out he actually fired the legal representative in Brazil and was then informed that he wasn't allowed to do that. And then he went, no, fuck you. And they said, okay, you can't operate here anymore. The government of Brazil blocked Twitter because he was violating the laws. I'd rather censor an entire country than stop people from spreading bullshit online.
And I'll silence anyone who gets in my way.
Speaking of Elon, the Cybertruck.
Brother,
Enough said.
God.
Oh, no, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's so stupid. Dan, draw me sunglasses.
Tim Pool being funded by a Russian conglomerate. I don't even have anything to say about that. The irony is funny enough.
She's a disgrace to humanity, and she's a disgrace to women.
This one I have to mention, even though everybody else already has. Blake Lively has tried to promote her clothing and alcohol brands through her movie about domestic violence. And as you've probably already seen, it's not going well.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
My God, girl, please read the room. Naming a cocktail after an abusive character when we have definitive proof that abuse rates get higher if the abuser drinks is so tone deaf it borders on parody. Now, I'm not suggesting that she necessarily made that decision herself, but she didn't veto it, so. And there's a lot to say about the mess around the movie, and I don't really give a shit about her personality or all of the, like, mean girl stuff that's coming out about her. I care about that stuff. The advertising. So why are you advertising drink products, clothing, beauty products in your movie about domestic violence? Why are you framing it like it's a girl's day out? It isn't. Also, as we all know, I hate Colleen Hoover, and I hope that she is never allowed to write again. But that's just like an aside to that.
I hate that. It's gross. It tastes like dirt.
Be Better on TikTok has made a career for himself pointing out the bad business practices of other businesses, only for his only business to fall under scrutiny. He's charging $80 for honey. I don't care how much money you make, nothing justifies that. And then he like doubled down, like Angelica Oles made a video about it, like covering the topic, and he like messaged her, being really bitchy, telling her that she was like she didn't have the whole story or whatever, and it was just like, girl, Like, just take the L, you know?
Hey Angelica, I just saw a YouTube video on me. I have to be honest, I was really disappointed to see how much misinformation was present in that video and how much he mischaracterized everything about me and my business. Really disappointing. I can disprove literally everything you said in that video, and I'll be publicly responding to everything you said and debunking it with evidence. Right, okay, so debunk the fact that you did a video of Jake Paul. Debunk the fact that you did a misinformed video on Kamala Harris. Debunk your apology. Debunk the fact that I believe your honey is overpriced. Debunk TikToks that I reacted to about allegedly you being a Nepo baby. Like, what are we debunking with evidence here? And I don't understand this, like, thinly veiled threat, essentially. There's been a lot of horrible misinformation spread about me this past week to the point that my address got doxed. Someone showed up to our house in the middle of the night, obviously disgusting. My family and I had to leave. The police are now involved, but I was most disappointed in your video as a longtime fan of your YouTube channel, seeing how you twisted so many facts. Twisted what facts? You are selling wellness products that I don't agree with. I don't agree with the claims, I don't agree with the false marketing, and I don't agree with the price, but that's my opinion.
If you're gonna give the smoke online, you have to be able to take the smoke online. Like, when I called out galas, I knew what I was in for. I knew the kinds of people that were coming into my comments. I expected that. I prepared. I fortified myself mentally. Some of this stuff you can't mentally fortify against, but like a very reasonable, not even takedown, but just like explanation of the situation, girl, you have to have thicker skin than that.
I wanted to at least give you the respect you didn't give me to let you know that I'll be posting a public video. Do you reach out to people before you take them down? Your whole career is the downfall of this. Do you reach out to every single one of them before you do a video on them? Did you reach out to the D'Amelios when you got, 30 million views? Talking about their downfall and everything they're doing wrong?
I watched a lot of your videos. I think it's ridiculous that you didn't seem to realize that you needed to be prepared for people to do the same to you. You're under massive amounts of scrutiny. You have millions of people tuning into your content. So you need to either be above scrutiny or be prepared for the smoke. Mr. Beast is embroiled in a massive scandal right now that is threatening to topple his mighty empire. It probably won't, because once names are big enough, it's hard to tarnish them that badly. See all of history. But it's nice to imagine it as somebody who has never bought into the Mr. Beast hype, has never watched, I don't think, a single bit of his content of my own volition. It is good to see that he's actually being held accountable. And it's good that he did all that stuff with his money that did, serve the greater good. Oh, there's a bee. There's a bee? But that doesn't mean that he's above scrutiny. Can we all agree on that now, please?
And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, I have concepts of a plan.
Now, this one I definitely have to read off the script for because there's so many details about it. Temu seems to be in a battle with Shein to be the least ethical company of all time, outside of arms dealers, with both companies now under fire for using forced or child labour, and both of them making very clear dupes of actual artists and creators' products without permission. Plagiarism! Somebody get H-Bomber guy on the phone. If you want more info on this, I'd direct you to D'Angelo's video on it because it lays it all out very clearly.
Shein is now copying Temu's copyright lawsuit. Obviously, Shein just sued them back for the exact same thing that they were being sued for. Shein complains about Temu being an unlawful enterprise built on counterfeiting, theft of trade secrets, infringement of intellectual property rights, and fraud. To rip off artists and put that work on your website, and then to have the audacity to sue people for ripping things off of your website is absolutely absurd. And then they both get investigated by the United States government for selling products that contain toxic material. Two safety commissions say Shein and Temu raised specific concerns, such as the potential sale of deadly baby products. You can't make this up.
Also, Temu went viral 2 days ago at the time of filming because a girl was given a croissant lamp from there, and it turned out to be a real croissant in resin.
I came home from work after the hot day, and there was hundreds of ants underneath it. And I was like, why the fuck would ants want a fake croissant? And I'm almost wondering if this is a fucking literal real croissant covered in resin. Dude, look at the crumbs. What the actual Temu? I guess there's one way to truly know, and that crumb just came out of there. It's literally food. So there's that, and apparently the thing that it was stolen and plagiarized from is also real pastries in resin, but it seems to me that that artist is probably taking more care with their product than Temu would, considering the Temu one costs $2 and the one the original artist costs hundreds. So they just put resin over a croissant.
But yeah, Shein and Temu both tried to sue each other into oblivion, and now they're both being investigated by the US government for potentially dangerous or hazardous materials in their products. As in, things that can cause genuine harm to people. There are dangerous levels of certain chemicals and elements in their products, so hopefully they'll go down together. But again, I highly doubt it. Another issue that happened while I was writing and researching my other video was that the Internet Archive had lost its appeal against Hatchet, which is really, really bad. The reason why that's bad is because they were doing internet lending of books in the same way that a library does lending of books. And Hatchet, the publisher, decided that that broke copyright and sued them, and they lost, and then they appealed, and they've lost again, which is very, very bad for the future of records and archives and copyright and the internet going forward. It really does drive home the fact that, like, if libraries were invented today, if we didn't have that concept and someone tried to invent it today, it'd never get off the ground. Libraries wouldn't exist because they don't turn as much of a profit as selling books as selling the copyright does. So why would we invent libraries? Why should anybody be able to have access to anything for free? How dare you? Just Jesus. Linked to this, and to the Google colossally fucking up stuff that I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, Google has announced, and I'm quoting here, "We know many people, including those in the research community, value seeing previous versions of web pages when available. That's why, beginning today, we're adding links to the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine to our About This Result panel to give people quick context and make this helpful information easily accessible through search. To access archive links, click on the 3 dots next to a search result. In the window that appears, click on the More About This Page button and then look for the See Previous Versions on Internet Archive's Wayback Machine link. It will take a day or so for this to fully roll out and be available for those searching in 40 different languages. And as people have pointed out, they're getting rid of its cache, which is the thing that already held those previous versions of websites, and replacing it with a third-party solution of linking to the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive is already doing its own job, so putting the onus of all previous versions of the website onto them is not a good idea. And not only is that erasing a form of getting that information from existence and then putting it to rely only on the Internet Archive, but considering how Internet Archive is now been piled on, it's going to be extremely costly for them to support all of that as well. And so if they ever decide to stop running the systems that enable people to access those things, or if somebody decides they want to sue them for the copyright of access to previous versions of the website, are we just going to lose access? Is that how the world works now? Piracy is the only morally correct way to archive things now. Like, that's how we keep hold of things that have been removed entirely from the internet and public access. And I'm not kidding. And obviously, piracy cannot go hand in hand without a conversation about Disney. And in that conversation, I would like to also bring up, this happened more than 2 weeks ago, but I'm still angry about it. Disney attempting to cover up a wrongful death by citing their terms and conditions of Disney Plus, saying that when you sign that you're not allowed to sue Disney. It is baffling to me that they thought that was going to be a better look than just settling the wrongful death lawsuit of a woman who died on your premises from eating food that had not been following correct health and safety guidelines. And it's not right, but they very easily could have quashed this by throwing the blame on the staff and firing everybody involved, which wouldn't be right, by the way. It is on Disney to enforce those things. But what I am saying is that from their lawyer's point of view, they could have done that, and the lawsuit might have gone totally unspoken about. People would have gone, wow, those staff really didn't care, and moved on. Disney would have had to pay a middling fee, which is disgusting considering it killed somebody, but that is how corporations work. We live under capitalism. And they could have moved on. And instead, they decided to use the defense that her bereaved husband could not get any compensation for it because he signed up for Disney Plus. The depths of depravity that companies will go to avoid giving up even a cent of money while people around them suffer and die is absolutely abhorrent. It is disgusting. And now, to complete the more heavy portion of the video, Israel's bombings of Palestine have caused more damage to our planet and climate than Hiroshima and the Blitz combined. When I mentioned earlier about our AI single-handedly regressing all the progress we've made on climate change, it wasn't quite single-handedly. AI and Israel are joining forces to destroy our climate and to ensure that we are in a position where we're never able to reverse it. Now, I care about the hundreds of thousands of people who've been murdered at the hands of regime, but for those people who can't quite get behind that for whatever reason, do you want to maybe consider getting behind not letting our whole planet die? Because that'd be great. If we could just not let the whole planet die because one regime wants to wipe out an entire race of people. Did you see those two podcasters who literally said,
if you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. That's just, I think most Israelis
if that's the choice.
Yeah.
Because hey, that's not wanting land back. That's I'm sure there's a word for that. No, can't think of it. I'm tired of being like polite about Palestine. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of like shuffling around it and trying to be nice about it. If you still support Israel at this point, go for yourself. I mean, it's from the bottom of my heart. Go for yourself. And I also, by the way, just because you have to say this every time you say anything, don't support anti-Semitism. I think anti-Semitism is disgusting. I think it's abhorrent. But I think anti-Muslim sentiment is just as abhorrent. If you want to erase any race or religion of people off the face of the earth, I think you should go for yourself. I don't think that should be a controversial thing to say. Speaking of which, literally yesterday, American right-wing politicians started framing Haitians as barbaric, subhuman people in order to fearmonger. They're like white right-wing voters in the United States, and the UK has been doing that for a while as well with various other countries to avoid letting people want to accept immigrants and refugees. This is like bordering on, if not completely crossing the border into Jim Crow levels of complete and utter dehumanization of people.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
It is disgusting. And I don't know how this isn't legislated against. I don't know how we're not fining people, jailing people for that kind of hateful rhetoric. Those are hate crimes.
Nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a liberal.
She wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. Real words from Donald Trump 2024.
That's a hate crime. But this man's allowed to run for president. He gets his hearing deferred until after the election. That's not even white privilege, that's class privilege. And you all know what I'm going to say. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for capitalism, which is fueled by classism, by the way, and just like pure pig-headedness. There is a stubborn refusal to admit that they're wrong that seems to steer all these people and companies right into the skid, all while they insist that this is exactly where they're meant to be. Of course they intended to be scraping the paint off the car and damaging the undercarriage. What else did you think they would want to be doing? Driving on the road where everybody else wants them to go? No, they're far too advanced for that. Roads are for peasants. I'm not owned. The class and capitalistic divide in society at the moment is ever worsening. The patriarchal, misogynistic divide is ever worsening. The racial divide is ever worsening. The homophobic divide is worsening. And it's extremely, extremely disheartening to wake up every day and turn on the news and see another story about somebody who was dehumanized or killed or brutalized at the hands of people who think they're better by an accident of birth. It's extremely frustrating. And on top of that, you've got corporations treating human beings like we're absolutely nothing. And they've always done that, but it feels worse. Because all those things I read out, that's the last 2 weeks. That is the last 2 weeks of the news cycle. Do you know how bonkers that is? There used to be a time when we'd get a story like that, like once a month. I wrote those all down in the middle of researching for other videos, intending to make like individual videos on each of those topics. And then when I'm just not moving fast enough for the news cycle, I'm going to have to condense it all into one video where I just chat shit about it for a while in order to get the much more important video that I'm making about DV made. Why is this now the position that we're in as a society? Because we're dividing people. We're pitting people against people, but we're also putting corporate interests over not just the lives of people, which is important, but like the quality of life of people. I don't think it's unfair to say that I want my quality of life to be good as a baseline. I don't want to be just surviving for the rest of my life. Please and thank you. I would like to be living. That would be nice. It'd be nice to live, to function, to enjoy myself. I've been in Australia now since the end of March, beginning of April. I was supposed to only be here for a few months and then fly back to the UK. And part of the reason I stayed was I wanted to make sure I saw everybody before I left, get my health checked out. By the way, still ill and getting worse. Just so you know, I'm now on a whole host of new medications, and none of which are helping. But the other part of the reason why I stay is because every time I turn on the news and I look at what's going on in the UK, I don't want to go back there. If I wasn't from there, if I didn't live there, if I was just somebody who was turning on the news and looking at it, there's no part of me that would want to move to that country. That's the way I've always felt about the US, as somebody from the outside looking in. Like, I see headlines from the US and I go, oh, Jesus, how do people live in that country? And now I'm doing the same thing about the country that I live in, because the UK is slowly getting more racist and transphobic and homophobic. How do I live with the fact that that's where I'm from? We voted the Labour government in so that we could stop having Tory policies, and they've just doubled down on the Tory policies. They've doubled down on the transphobia. They've doubled down on the racism. They've doubled down on the classism. Keir Starmer said the other day that he wasn't going to provide funding for pensioners to pay for like heating bills through the winter. You know, the thing that killed people last year? Meanwhile, British Gas is making billions and billions and billions of pounds. Their revenue goes up every year because we had to make our electricity and gas private. Cool. That's going really well. It's making a country I'm really proud to be from, guys. Well done. So I don't know when I'm going to go back to the UK. I don't know if I'm going to move back to the UK. Partially because I'm afraid if I get on a plane, I'll die. But partially because that's not the country I want to represent me. And Australia is not a lot better. There is a huge misogyny and DV issue going on right now, hence why I'm making the video. But like, America, Australia, and the UK are supposed to be like these pinnacle countries, right? Because of colonialism, which I can make a whole other video on. But we're supposed to be like first world countries, right? If you're using stupid rhetoric. And it's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing to be from these countries, to look at the news and see what's coming out every day and just go, wow, is this the best that humanity has to offer? Is this the best that society has to offer? Why would I want to move back to the UK when that's what it has to offer? And I have the choice. I have the option of not moving back to the UK because I have dual citizenship. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are stuck there. A lot of people can't afford to leave. They don't have passports, or they're refugees and have just got there only to realise it's not going to be better than the place they can escape from. Like, I have the privilege of being able to choose, and I say that as somebody who is extremely working class, extremely poor, does not have a lot of money at all, is flying by the seat of my fucking pants, which I'm also making a video on, by the way. I've been really productive while I haven't been posting videos. I've written like 4 video essays. I say that as somebody who has been poor my whole life, who is probably poorer now than I've ever been. I have, let me just double check, $80 Australian in my bank account to last me until the 24th. So that's going to go well. And I'm still more privileged than a lot of people that I know. I'm still more privileged than anybody who's trying to escape a war-torn country to arrive in the UK only to be treated like absolute shit. Like, the fact that I feel trodden on and worn down and tired and stressed about money, and I'm saying that from a position of privilege, is fucking unreal. Unreal. And it's unacceptable. And we need to stand up and start doing something about it. So this video turned out a little bit heavier than I meant it to be. When I started compiling topics for this video, this was supposed to be the light-hearted one that I would post before the really heavy one I'm planning on posting next. And then not only did the stories keep on piling up, but the ridiculousness and the outrageousness of the stories escalated as well. And like, what am I supposed to do with that? So, apologies for bumming everybody out, and the next video probably will as well, but it's also going to be very, very, very useful for a lot of people, so please try and spread it. Please, 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 please. I'm giving you a heads up. The next video I post is going to be something I'm extremely passionate about, that is extremely important. It's to do with DV. Please, please, please spread that video. And in the meantime, I would just like to thank all of my amazing patrons over on Patreon, which I have linked below if you would like to help me. If you don't have that money right now, spend it on yourself. Do not spend it on anybody else. Take care of yourself first. I'm only looking for people who have disposable income. And fancy handing it over to your local commie leftist queer. First up, big, huge, enormous special thank you to Ian Musa once again for joining my Roman Empire tier. Just cannot express enough how amazing and brilliant and cool that is, and the conversation that I had with him was awesome. So thank you. You're amazing. I will continue to sing your praises. An additional special thank you goes to my rooftop dwellers, Cast, Dana Brand, Nick Hook, BPs, Ace of Lights, Cal Kale, Best Stressed, Sunshine Che, Deborah Laban, Sarah Parker Schimmelt, Ghost Porcupine, Callum McLeod of Clan McLeod, Whoop Whoops, Lilac Rose, CS, Rihanna, Carolina, and Chris K. And finally, the amazing people in my introverts tier, Sarah Parker Schimmelt, Wilmer H., Megan Shelton, Natrasette, Summer in the Locked Tomb, CL Moriel, Paula, Stephanie Goodrich, Swarm of Bees, Alyssa Likeness, Icy Glade, Ellie, Stella Magic Owl, Amy, Blue, Nathan Fraughton, Claire McCowlin, Mikey Birtwhistle, Kay, Adriana Rodriguez, Madison Diebler, Fox, Joanna E., Dan R., Spark, Bryony, Kanani Jones, Nemo, Jumping Juniper, Sydney Sullivan, Shyla, Nina Nadine Frockling, Elias Bombach, Laura E., Jonas Holzer, Eric Ramey, Eric Nelson, Romy Begel, Ruth, Reds Heads, Catherine A., Marcel De Jong, Jim Willits, Theresia, Caroline Baker, Mark DeLucci, Claire Gamu, Chris K., Nemo Boy, Commander Rainsword, Sonia Shapiro, Candy99, The Saddest Tadpole, and E. Teddy. I cannot thank you enough for all of your support. I really can't, especially as has been previously mentioned. I don't have a lot of money going right now. The Patreon money has really genuinely helped me through the last couple of months. So it might seem like nothing to you guys. It might seem like a really small amount of money, but it adds up and it really, it's been really helpful. So thank you very much. You have paid for a lot of my doctor's appointments. But I hope you're all doing well out there. And I hope that after this video and the next one, I will have some more fun and ridiculous and upbeat videos for a little while. Take care of yourselves out there. 안녕?